When an underground cable has been damaged, it often has to be removed. In this part of the program, two methods of removing a damaged cable from conduit in an underground system will be demonstrated. The first method is to use a truck to draw the cable out of the manhole into the street where it can be cut into short sections and disposed of. The other method is to use a special truck that draws the cable out of the ground and chops it into short sections automatically, although in some companies, damaged cable may be reeled up using special equipment and then tested for possible reuse later. In the two demonstrations we'll be seeing, the crews will only remove the cable. In some instances, though, the same crew may also install replacement cable. Whichever method is used, if the cable's being replaced and not salvaged, the cable removal operations can be much simpler than the installation operation. This is because much of the rigging used to install a cable is designed to protect it from damage. If a cable is being replaced, protecting it isn't as much of a concern. Remember that what you'll be seeing in this part of the program are examples only. Your equipment and company procedures may be different. Okay, let's begin with the first method of cable removal and go out to the site to see how the crew prepares for the job. After the work area has been secured, the crew members hold a tailgate conference to discuss the job. In addition to going over the work procedures and any safety precautions, the crew members also set up two-way radio communication because the job will be carried out from two manholes. While the crew is preparing for the job, let's take a look at a simplified illustration to get a better idea of what the job involves. This is the manhole from which the cable will be pulled. And this manhole is where a tag line is rigged on the other end of the cable. At the pulling hole, a sheave and block are installed with a chain on the pulling eye inside the manhole. This will allow the cable to be pulled straight out from the conduit. And a corner block is also rigged at the top of the manhole to allow the pulling line to go from the large sheave to the winch on a truck. As the pull begins, the cable is pulled into the conduit and toward the pulling manhole. During a normal pull, the tag line allows the conduit to remain threaded instead of having to re-rod it later. If the damaged cable breaks during its pull, the tag line can be used to retrieve the broken section from the duct. If no tag line were used, a section of cable could become lodged in the conduit. Okay, let's go back to the crew to see how the job is carried out. Following the tailgate, the manholes at each location are tested according to company procedures. This generally includes both an atmospheric test and a physical inspection of the manhole. When the manholes are determined to be safe, the job can begin. Inside each manhole, the damaged cable is identified, tested for dead, and cut with a hydraulic cable cutter. At this point, the crews rig each manhole for removing the cable. The manhole from which the cable is to be pulled has been determined in advance. At the pulling manhole, the sheave and block are installed on chains attached to pulling eyes inside the manhole. And the corner block is installed at the top of the manhole. A pulling rope is attached to the cable with either a choker or a rolling hitch knot. It runs through the sheave and corner block to the truck. At the other manhole, a tag line is attached to the other end of the cable as a safety line. When both manholes are rigged, the winch at the pulling end is used to break the surface tension between the cable and the conduit. After a long period of time, the cable can be difficult to move because of surface tension between the cable and the conduit, and because the cable stiffens into position. The winch continues to operate until the tension is broken and the cable is pulled up out of the manhole. Then, the end of the pulling rope is secured to the truck, and the truck is used to pull the cable the rest of the way into the street. In some cases, the cable pull may be done in stages, so that the cable pulling truck doesn't have to cross a high traffic intersection with the cable. If the street is too short to accommodate the cable, the truck can be used to pull the cable as far as the street will allow, and then the cable can be cut at the manhole. The truck is used to pull additional lengths until the entire cable is out of the manhole. After the cable has been removed, it's cut into small sections. The pieces can then be loaded on a truck for disposal. With the second method of cable removal we'll see, the cable is removed, cut up, and disposed of in one operation, using a special cable scrapping truck. Let's take a look at how the truck works. The scrapping truck is first secured at the site according to company procedures. The truck has a platform and a tube mounted on a set of hydraulic jacks. The tube is angled and extends from a winch at the back of the tube, above and over the cab of the truck. The truck's capstan is used to pull the end of the cable up to the winch. The winch then clamps onto the cable with teeth and rotates, feeding the cable into the tube. At the high end of the tube is a hydraulically operated cable cutting knife. The knife cuts the cable into sections, which then fall into a dump truck that is parked in front of the scrapping truck and under the scrapper tube. As before, if the cable should break in the conduit while it's being pulled, the tag line could be used to retrieve the broken section of cable. Now, the two methods of cable removal that we saw in this part of the program are commonly used, but your company's procedures and equipment may be different. Regardless of the method used, however, the basic steps are the same. The manholes are rigged, the cable is broken free from the conduit, and then the cable is pulled from the manhole. Cable removal is one of the basic tasks associated with underground cable installation. In this program, we've seen many of the other tasks as well. First, we saw how URD cable can be installed. We looked at 3 different methods of direct burial: by trenching, plowing, and by shooting or burrowing. Then we saw how URD cable could be installed in spare or empty conduit that was previously buried under a road. In underground systems, we saw the 5 basic steps involved in cable installation: advanced planning, preparing the conduit, positioning the above-ground equipment, rigging the manholes, and pulling the cables. And we saw some of the general considerations and equipment used. We saw cable being installed between 2 manholes by using one manhole to feed the cable and the other to pull, and by pulling and feeding the cable from the same manhole. And finally, we saw 2 methods of cable removal. The first was to pull the cable out into the street, where it was then cut into small sections and removed. The second method was to use a special truck to pull the cable and cut it into sections automatically. Knowing how to install cables is more and more important today because of the increase in the number of utilities using underground installations. A proper cable installation can help to ensure that your company's underground system continues to operate trouble-free for years to come.